Motivation to use only. Mentally feel like Kobe, I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me, I don't care if you're pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the One-on-One Sports Show here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always, the OG, the 7B ball brother in the BMU network, the coach in the building, Coach Ferg. How you doing tonight, sir?
What's up, brother Ben? How you doing, man? My mic sound okay?
Oh, yeah, you sound great. Now you sound perfect. You sound perfect. Yeah, man. So how's it going? Coach is actually coaching. He's got 5th and 6th grade girls that he's trying to teach the game to and whatnot, and I guess the growing pains that go with that. But how's that been going for you, sir?
You know, I guess the part of coaching that I love the most is the challenge of teaching and getting the girls to sort of really get into the game of it. The most difficult part is dealing with behaviors similar to school, right? So I say hold the ball. Some girls just continue to bounce the ball while I'm trying to teach and explain exercises. I show everybody how to properly get a jump shot off, because a lot of them, you know, got their hands out kind of twisted ways.
Right.
Then I leave them alone. As soon as I leave them alone, they're going right back to just throwing the ball up. I'm like, okay.
So you believe in teaching there is such a thing as a proper jump shot? Because I've noticed, especially on the lower level, especially high school and whatnot, I've seen some guys have some funky shots, but the ball goes in. So sometimes the coach would be like, you know what, as long as you make it, I'm gonna leave you alone.
Yes.
Until it doesn't work anymore. But you believe in fundamentals, like getting that elbow behind and follow through. You don't want 2 hands on the ball on follow through and stuff like that.
But it's levels to it, brother Bennett. If I get a player in high school and he's coming in that gym and he's throwing up that swirly shot and he's knocking down 75% of the shots, man, keep that shot. I wouldn't, but I would say work on your weakness of your game, right?
Right.
But on this level, they have to learn that proper rotation on the ball. You know what I'm saying? If you don't do that, it's hard to develop any kind of shot. And, you know, dealing with girls is a lot of emotion. They are making me look at my retirement career even deeper, you know. So they may push me to completely retire or continue to pursue other opportunities. But, you know, my voice is gone because I'm constantly raising my voice, not just
and that's not you usually. You're not a voice raiser.
And it's not just through the nonsense of, you know, personalities, but the other teams are practicing too on the other side. So they bouncing and they don't stop. So I've had a few players quit. One girl said I was mean. I yelled at her, but every time she come to practice, she sit on the sideline. She's on the team. Now she just go over and sit, but I tell her, get out here and play. I seen some good stuff today from my 5th graders, though, and I'll shut up. My 5th graders, they getting it. I think that I'm going to focus on that. And my assistant coach, maybe she can implement a little bit more. I'm going to give her more responsibility. But I got a parent meeting tomorrow, man, and I'm iron this out tomorrow because our season start next Wednesday. So we'll see.
I heard that. Again, good to have everybody here. Certainly tonight, make sure you hit the like button certainly as you come in tonight. Certainly helps the algorithm and whatnot. And as you can see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, if you want to drop a Cash App or a super chat certainly to the channel, we'd appreciate that. And then we would also especially appreciate anything you want to give to us personally. We will have certainly our own individual Cash App scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Certainly we appreciate any support that you give us in that context as well. But we got our guy Shawnee on tonight. Our guy Dante, he'll be joining us shortly. Man's got to put that OT in. But how you doing tonight, sir? What's going on?
Everything good. Just have to help get the groceries in the house from going grocery shopping. Get
the groceries? Yeah, doing Costco, BJ's. What you guys got down there?
We actually do HEB.
What's that?
It's huge down in the South. It's huge. I mean, when they open up, people be outside waiting, like in the wee hours in the mornings. We first want to shop there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge store. I don't know what's really equivalent on the East Coast, but it's basically like, have you heard of the Buc-ee's gas station?
Vaguely, yeah. It's been a minute, but
it's kind of like a craze. It's like a craze behind the Buc-ee's gas station.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same thing with HEB grocery stores. It's kind of the same atmosphere.
Gotcha. All right, sounds good, man. Again, let's get into this thing. Certainly shout out to the guys. So I got KP from KC in the building tonight. Appreciate you being here, sir. Good to have you. And then we also have, what's this here? How do I pronounce this? This is you? This coach?
No, that's girl dad cooking up deliciousness, man.
Shout out to you.
That's not me, man.
I was looking. I was like, man, who's here? Who's definitely here? But I appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate you guys being in the house tonight. Appreciate you being part of the conversation. But let's get into this. So again, obviously, we're going to cover NFL. We got NFL Week 9. So let's get a 10,000 foot view of the current standings that's going on right now. So it seems like as certain races are seeming to settle, some are extremely competitive. And just looking at it, my view, obviously the NFC East, it's like all these teams are falling off. And, obviously we're going to talk about, what's going on with the Cowboys and Washington at this point. Giants have just a ton of a rash of injuries and whatnot. And, so they're gone. But what's really shaping up is it's a very competitive NFC. I mean, with Chicago winning 4 of the last 5 games, they're certainly very competitive right now. They're tied with the Detroit. Nobody thought that going in. Shout out to our guy Hink in the basement, who's always criticizing his Bears, and in particular Caleb Williams. You better show that boy some love. He certainly balled out last game. So certainly the NFC North is being very competitive, and then you definitely got a bottleneck with the NFC West. 2 6-2 teams. San Francisco, even without Brock Purdy, is still hanging tough at this point, and surprise team Carolina gets another victory. On the AFC side, obviously, certainly New England still showing up, and even though Buffalo, seeing that they're going to be right there. I thought Kansas City, they'd certainly reestablish themselves, but again, that was a big loss against Buffalo. And then the North, Steelers are holding strong, but again, we got Lamar coming back, so we'll see if he can't, take those guys on the run. But I think my biggest takeaway so far is definitely Seattle, which is surprised me. I didn't think they'd be this good. So again, we got to give Darnold some love. He was great with Minnesota last year. He goes to Seattle. He's still good there. You got to give those guys some respect. Shout out to the Bears. They're doing well. And then my other surprise team, if I had to have one, is certainly New England and Denver. Denver had to come back, another come from behind win last week. So they're flexing a little bit. But yeah, you have some very competitive races that'll definitely take us well into the final week of the season. And so, that's my view of a coach based on, on this. What have you seen? Who's standing out to you? As who's your surprise, who's your disappointment, and where do you see some of these races falling when all said and done?
Man, just on the NFC, just go with the losses. Definitely Dallas, man. I'm not surprised with Washington. Sophomore jinx is real for some quarterbacks, and I'm surprised. Chicago definitely surprised, but I think it was due for them. I like the way they playing defense, and they have an offensive-minded coach. So anytime you get offensive-minded head coach with a good quarterback, it shows. Tampa Bay, even though they are winning, I don't trust them. So Carolina is definitely a surprise. I think everybody on their team should get a new contract. They first winning record any time of the season, the last 5 to 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
But salute to them. Seattle, definitely. Sam Darnold, I think last year really showed him how to play quarterback. And, and he's just he could be the MVP right now in the league. Right now, he could be the MVP. Pittsburgh, with Aaron Rodgers, and like I said, in the little comment, you're looking at probably arguably one of the top 3 coaches to ever coach the game, in Mike Tomlin. But Baltimore,
don't say that in Pittsburgh. They may come after you.
Well, that's because they ain't gonna give
Mike Tomlin crew is alive and well in Pittsburgh, no matter what.
They ain't gonna give him his credit unless he win another Super Bowl. But Indianapolis, of course, surprise. Jacksonville. It's this year is probably the best NFL game rosters that I've seen in the last 15 years. I like the fact that teams who've always stood out as losing are now sort of leveling the playing field. Tennessee, they'll get it together. I think they hired the wrong coach. The Giants got the wrong coach, and I don't know, man. Denver, I would expect that out of a Sean Payton team. So, yeah, salute to Dallas, man. They the disappointment, but we'll see going into the second half of the season because it is getting cold outside, ain't it?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Shawnee, what's your takeaway so far?
Well, the one I think AFC, because you have the teams who are in particular the 2 lost teams, New England, Buffalo, the Colts, and Denver. But I think they all need to keep their eyes on. I think KC will get their bearings right. I know they had a loss, but I think Baltimore is going to come up. And they may be in a wild card, but you always say you want your team to play their best football at the end of the season, in the beginning. Of course, their defense wasn't playing well. They was at the bottom of the league early in the season. Of course, you had the Lamar injury, but Lamar is back. Their defense is playing better. They have the weapons, and they just say, okay, we're just gonna stay under the radar. And next thing you know, you're gonna see them when the playoffs start. Now I know we debated about this early, before the season started about Lamar and the playoffs and whatnot. I still think they're a talented team to where it eventually has to click for him and that team in the playoffs. And I'm sure they'd rather play probably the Chargers, the Jaguars. Definitely don't want to play the Chiefs. Maybe Houston can sneak in at the end of the season because you got to remember, there's still 8 games left. That's still a lot of time. Even the Cowboys over here in the NFC has a miracle. I think I saw them have like a 9% chance. So there's still a lot that happen in 8 games left. But yeah, I think Baltimore, they're going to be coming up on some people's rearview mirrors as the season go on because they're starting to get healthy. In particular, they got their quarterback back. Now, I say this about the Seahawks. I don't think I've seen a quarterback, as far as I can remember, had a better half than Sam Darnold did versus the Commanders. I'm watching this dude literally lighten them up. Perfect first half. I think he was 16 for 16.
16 to 16, yeah. Yep.
Almost 300 yards in the first half. 4 touchdowns. He was literally just lighting them up, and they couldn't do anything about it. I said, I don't know if I've ever seen this in a half before. It's just one half. And it just, because I was thinking about with Sam Darnold, then you got Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield. Both of them have, right now, even you seeing that in Daniel Jones, even though it's his first season with Indy. But you seeing these quarterbacks who were drafted high, in respective seasons and whatnot, and they had like, I guess you could say a disastrous time with their initial teams. But then when they came to another team, better coaching, more stable, you literally seeing their skill set now coming to fruition while they was drafted. And I just could not help but think about Justin Fields should be in the same boat, but Justin Fields is just not. It's not clicking with him. He had his opportunities. He had his teams. At first, you could say, "Oh, it was the Bears." So when he went to the Steelers, basically the same thing. That's why Russ came in.
Mhm.
Now he with the Jets, basically the same thing. He'll have these lightning flashes, and then immediately just go back to reality. So I'm like, you be hoping like, okay, he was kind of in the same boat where his initial team it just wasn't clicking. But you would think about, okay, you go to a team because everybody always, Justin Fields just feel like they have, hope that he'll turn it around, but it's just not. And he's literally he'll experience the same thing whatever team he's going to where now that whatever current team be like, we got to find somebody else at the quarterback position. Like they already thinking about the next quarterback because he's just not delivering with them.
Mhm.
So I'll be hoping they will switch for him like he sees because obviously with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, like I say, Daniel Jones is his first season away from NY, but Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, you talking about it clicked and I'm like, damn man, this is like they are totally different quarterbacks.
Let me ask you, do you think it was a mistake then? I know Minnesota, I know they drafted McCarthy first round and whatnot, but you think it's a mistake they should have held on to him?
I can't really say it's thinking of a mistake because, they drafted McCarthy high.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
you're going to have to give him a shot. And right now, the main thing he needs is game reps. His biggest thing is, he can't stay on the field. Darnold basically did his thing. He was basically a bridge quarterback. They wasn't really expecting him to start last season. But McCarthy got injured, so he stepped in. And then next he had a marvelous season until, obviously he tailed off at the end. But they picked McCarthy high, and Darnold was just a bridge quarterback to him. But he used that. He used that to his advantage. He ended up getting I think his first long-term contract with a team. I think this is the first time he said he was able to actually buy a house. He kept renting everywhere.
Yeah.
So it worked out for him.
Yeah.
So I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones. Who's your MVP right now?
I would have said Baker, but he's been losing receivers. But right now, Sam Darnold don't have the weapons that he has. He has a hell of a weapon with Jackson Smith and Jigma. Now, he's making up for it. But right now, because I will say Baker if he still had Mike Evans and I think Ibuka's still playing with him. I know he had an injury. But right now, Sam Darnold is just the hottest one. If you look at the week to week, Sam Darnold has been playing hotter than Baker the past 2 or 3 games. And who knows, maybe give another 3 games and maybe Baker. But right now, I think Sam Darnold probably just edging him just a little bit. Because I think right now they're going neck to neck. They got the same
You like
record.
Baker Mayfield. You like
Baker Mayfield, he led the league in touchdown passes last season.
That was last year.
But he was doing it again this season. But the only thing that's changed for him, he keeps losing his receivers.
But they still winning though.
Yeah, he's still winning. But right now, Darnold is putting up better numbers the past 3 games. So right now, you know how MVP they go like this.
Yeah. So as of right now, these first 8 games, Brother Ben, who do you think would be your MVP out of those 3? Because they seem to be playing the best consistent. Even I would throw Matthew Stafford in there. But
that's what I'm saying. Matthew Stafford's got 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, he's balling. He's the MVP. But as far as those players, right? Because those 3 players have had to sort of revamp their careers.
Mm-hmm.
So out of those 3, who would be your MVP?
I would probably have to. I'd probably give it to Baker, especially if he can keep that team winning with the injuries that he has. I would have to give it to him. I think he is. I think Seattle has a few more weapons for Sam Darnold, just like he had last year. Now, I'm not saying he's a system QB or whatnot. Again, he's done very well with Minnesota, and he's doing very well in a very competitive division right now. But if Baker can keep that team, get him to like a 2 seed or what have you, whatnot, I think I'd have to give it to Baker because I think he is really, he is really the only thing that's keeping that team afloat right now. And I think, certainly they'll win the division. I don't know if Sam Darnold, if they're going to come out, because again, it's very clear they got the Rams to deal with. So we got to see, who wins up there. And again, with these MVP races and whatnot, a lot of it does depend down to what even though they say it's a regular season record, a lot of it does come down to your playoff, your playoff rankings and your position going in. So, I think that's still to be decided. So Baker can keep that team afloat and get them to like a 2 seed. Because right now, it looks like I think the Eagles, I think they'll probably get the 1 seed. If I had to guess right now. I would certainly give it to I think I'd have to lean Baker in that.
The only thing about with Darnold, he has to keep this up because you already know with Darnold, you just looking for that slide, and
well, that's with both players. That's the same thing Baker Mayfield did in Cleveland. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he didn't have any weapons in Cleveland either.
But not Tampa Bay though. I mean, remember he led them to a convincing win versus the Eagles in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and he really gave, was that Detroit when they eventually lost? It was a close game. It was a barn burner when he was playing them. So Baker's showing up in the playoffs. Obviously, Darnold last year was, I think, his only really piece, and he just fell off the last game and the first game of the playoff. So, but yeah, they going like this, and the thing about it is, I mean, usually, MVP talks, it's either between Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Those are 3 main QBs whose name is always towards the top every season in the MVP conversation. Now we talking about dudes who were literally journeymen at the beginning of the season, and now their game has went up as much to potentially talk in the MVP conversation. I know Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones is really because his running back. I mean, his running back is
and then we got to see, as we said last week, what's going to happen on the back half of the season because the first half was kind of easy. Thankfully, my Steelers won this past week. Man, still threw for almost 350. But now you're going to get into the thick of the season. He's got some AFC West teams to go through. So we'll see if he can certainly maintain it going forward. But.
Well, he got 2. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, so let's just take a look at the standings. Certainly so far the playoff picture as it stands right now. So you see, certainly the Colts, Broncos again, surprise 7-2. Also, I think we got to also give some love to New England in that I know we were lambasting them last year because Gerard Mayo only got 1 season. Yeah. And people were saying how unfair that was and whatnot. But I mean, if they keep winning like this, then you got to say shrewd move by the owner Kraft to bring Vrabel in.
I said, what does that tell you about the Titans though? Like, why did you let Vrabel go, who was already a respected head coach when he was with Tennessee? Why did you let him go?
Yeah,
and this new guy, who's their coach now?
I ain't never heard of him. So
yeah, he's not. I want to say Callahan.
Let me go back.
But yeah, he's not cutting the mustard right now. And Mike Vrabel was a very respected coach. I want to say Brian Callahan, but that's just off the top of my head. But yeah, that's what I'm like.
No, it's Mike McCoy. Mike McCoy.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, Mike McCoy's 0-3, and Brian Callahan. Yeah, they fired. So yeah, so
yeah,
it's
they definitely should have kept Vrabel in. They fired that dude.
Yeah, for sure. But again, so this is the again the bunching so far. Like I said, a lot of competitive races, but I certainly agree with Shawnee as far as the Ravens. They're lurking certainly in the background and whatnot, and we still have a lot of AFC North games to come up. So we got to play them twice in the second half of the season. And like I said, that loss by Kansas City, again, Josh Allen, again, flawless game. I mean, don't count him out of the MVP conversation. I thought he played a very good game. against Patrick Mahomes, who didn't have the greatest game. I don't even think he completed 50% of his passes, but he still had, he still pulled the team close enough, to try to tie or come back in the game. But I think that was certainly a major blow for Kansas City, who you thought they were getting their mojo back. And again, that come from behind victory by Denver again, being down by more than 10 points
Texas.
with, I think was it under 2 minutes?
Yeah, it was against by Texas, man. It was under 2 minutes because the Texas offense was already struggling with Stroud. Then Stroud went down with a concussion. So you can imagine how it looked like with the backup quarterback. So the Texans got the ball, I think it was like 1:30 left, and they went 3 and out. So that gave Indy a chance to get in the field goal range, and they won that. But yeah, it's the Texas defense is legit. They will they will turn you the ball over. They will potentially block field goals and punts. They just not getting any help with the offense. And my thing is the coach still have to see them twice. They haven't played each other yet. And I think when the Colts play them, we was just talking about the MVP and Daniel Jones. I think if they play against the Texans defense can affect Daniel Jones. So all of a sudden he'll start. The Colts may still win the game, but it may not be because of Jones. I wouldn't be surprised if Jones throw a couple of interceptions and whatnot, because the Texas defense is legit. They just not getting no help. I mean, the Texas offense got the ball in the red zone. They just can't score. So it's just they getting no help offensively. But they still, like you say, they're in the hunt right there, and there's still 8 games left. So the only ones I say is out of it right now is the Jets and the Titans and the Browns and the Raiders.
That's tough. So it's a race to the bottom, and the Jets, man, we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. The Jets, they already decided to start their fire sale. So that's certainly going to be something we'll get into in a little bit. But again, just to share again how bunched up it is again in the certainly in the West. Again, those bunchings with just a couple games separating KC, the Chargers, who the Steelers play. Again, they got to go to LA to play the Chargers. So again, I think that's a must win for us as well. If we want to keep our lead again with Lamar breathing down our necks, and again, Denver, they're finding ways to win games, but again, I think it's going to be competitive certainly down the stretch, certainly until they get there. But next, I want to talk about this again. This becoming a very competitive, because everyone coming in saying Detroit was just going to run away with it. Shout out to our guy JT. He's not here tonight, but I know he's always repping Detroit. But you're seeing how these things are. You see how these things are shaping up. Again, the Bears in a wild one against the Bengals. Obviously, we know the Bengals don't have any defense, but offensively, shout out to Joe Flacco. The guy's still able to put points on the board at 50 years old. So I mean, I give him all the credit in the world for doing that. But Minnesota, so again, Detroit, to me, they're too up and down. You know what I mean? Just when you think they're going to flex and get into rhythm or whatnot, Minnesota, huge win in Detroit. And again, the Panthers. I mean, here you had going into this the week, the Green Bay was the number 1 seed in the NFC with that tie that they had. So they lost that game certainly to again, and from what I understand, that was another road game, right? They lost in Green Bay against the Panthers. So again, it's a very topsy-turvy with that. But and again, Caleb balled out certainly in this game. I think it was under 2 minutes. He had the touchdown to go up. So again, so how scary can the Bears be? Do you think the Bears this year, not just looking forward to next year, but do you think the Bears can make a legitimate run in the North? Because right now, I think it's anybody's ball game at this point. I thought that was a huge loss by Green Bay at home, and it's wide open. So what are you thinking about this division right now? Who comes out?
Right now, it's still wide open to me because Minnesota needed this win. Maybe if McCarthy can stay healthy, they can go on a run or so. Detroit, to me, they was looking past Minnesota, but I think Detroit is still going to be in the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC. Chicago, They have to continue to play. I think if they win, what was it, 8 games left, they have to win at least 5 of those games, at least 5. And I think they'll be okay. Anything other than that, I don't know. Again, Green Bay, they was looking past Carolina. But Carolina's a much better team than they anticipated. And Carolina, I can see being some trouble. Carolina can be that team that's trouble for any of these teams to make the playoffs.
That's right.
But again, we'll see, man. You know, it's still early to me. I wait till like week 12, then I'm like, okay, you'll still look. I look, you know, I look for the separation then. Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But definitely again, going into the season, I thought, you know, Detroit was going to run away with it. And all these guys going to be sticking certainly to the end. Sean, any more comments on this before we move on?
Yeah, the Lions loss is big because that's a division loss. So that's almost like that almost counts like
that's 2 games. Yeah.
So that's huge. The Bears had no business winning that game, and I just go to like technical stuff for coach. It always bothers me, especially you seeing it more and more in today's football, that these dudes, especially the secondary, they do not wrap up when they tackle. And that's exactly why that was Loveland, who bounced off that tackle because for whatever reason, he's a tight end. And you just trying to do an impact tackle with your shoulder and thinking he's just going to fall down like that. He just bounced off of that thing and kept running to the end zone. I'm like, why you don't wrap up? And I know you're not supposed to like call out or really express like anger with your teammates to the media, like Chase Brown and Jamar Chase did post game. But I can't blame him on that, man. I mean, it's one thing like the Cowboys, their defense is bad. A lot of times they just don't have the players, and then they play a lot of zone, and receivers are always finding gaps. They're always leaving them open.
Right.
But it's another thing where it's just because of poor tackling. And it's not the first time the Bengals poor tackling cost the game. Cause really, that offense has been humming ever since they got Flacco.
No question.
It almost looked no different than when Burrow back there. The way they've been humming offensively.
Yeah.
They defense is like, man, we're gonna just cost you games now. And the way that play happened, and you know, Williams threw a pass to Loveland, and I saw that defender just came and just tried to tackle him just with like a shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you can't do that. And he's a tight end. He's bigger. He's bigger than you. And he just bounced off that thing and just kept it rolling into the end zone. Yeah. So I can't really fault like the.
But you think this is more epidemic with corners and whatnot, or do you
because I've been seeing
the safeties as well? You talk about just the defensive back.
Safeties do it too. Just safeties, they bring the hat harder. But I've been seeing this trend going on for past several seasons in the NFL. Like they are trying to get that sports center hit, but they don't wrap up. You see a lot of them just try to come in real fast and just bang you to tackle you, but they don't wrap up. And this one, you can see it costing them the game. Now with the Green Bay, I know you brought Mr. Bennett about Detroit, and they're up and down and kind of like, you know, we know you're a good team, but then you have these losses and be like. Cause we already got it in the back of my mind that you lost both your coordinators, but we're trying to give you a benefit of the doubt because sometimes you do look like these new coordinators look like the blast from the past from last season. But that's the same thing I've been looking at with Jordan Love. Jordan Love, I was like, okay, we've seen you do this before. You have the talent, but then he'll come out there just like he's also they go Hink right there.
Hello, Hank. How are you? Are you gonna give your boy Caleb Williams some love this week? All right. You've been trashing him all year. All right. Are we finally gonna get a compliment from you to your quarterback? I would really like to see you.
He can't stand the fingernail polish.
That's gonna be go at him all year. But this is definitely, you know, I'm definitely keeping my definitely keeping my eyes on the North and seeing where that can go. But the Bears, they're definitely showing me a lot of moxie, certainly in this time. And if Brother Hink would just only get behind his quarterback, I think they'd be even better. But that
But I'll
being
tell you
said,
this real quick though, that is a sign that shows you a sign of a team that's turning the corners. Because even when games look like they're out of it, good teams will find a way. Because KC, they've been doing this.
right,
Like games look like they should not been trying to win, but all of a sudden they will get the breaks
right.
to end up winning. So that's usually a sign that a team is turning the corner.
Right.
So
Well, definitely is a tell. I mean, last year these would have been the games they were losing.
they lost that one against the Commanders, that Hail Mary.
Exactly. So so these are definitely certainly with the new coach and whatnot. I think they definitely turned it around, and it's good to see if they can build on that. Speaking of the Commanders, again, their season's basically over. Obviously, as you said, I know give credit to Sam Darnold. He came out there, he was nearly perfect, and the look. You see this?
I told you.
I don't understand this, Hank. You are one of the worst Bears fans. I mean, trolling your own team like this is it's horrible. I just don't understand it. But in any event, but again, this is just a horrible situation. Certainly with Washington, their season. Again, a lot of promise, was a playoff team with Jaden Daniels at the helm last year. But now the injuries are starting to pile up, and in this game, there, even though the game was lost, so you're down 31 points with 7 minutes left in the game. Jaden Daniels is in there. He comes out with an injury, and then even the coach had to come out just today. I just added this little clip before the show that he says, blame him 100% for that injury. He had no business being in the game, especially him just coming off injury. And now he's in the situation. And then to follow up, add insult to injury, you got guys out. Luke McCaffrey's out for the season, and you got Marshawn Lattimore out for the season. So it's just been a horrible couple weeks for Washington. And just to add insult to injury, just to have your starting QB who's just coming back to be injured in that way. So again, your thoughts on this, and should in what way you think he should be held accountable for this? Because that's something that just shouldn't happen.
Man, this I don't know, man. Yeah. I watch a lot of football and I pay attention to a lot. And sometimes when I'm watching a game, I can almost sense something ready to happen that's crazy. And I think right when they came out for that drive, right, I was thinking maybe it's about time for him to not be in the game. I said, this is when things typically happen to players. I don't know, man. When I seen that arm bend over like that, I'm like, yeah, it's a bad call on the coaches. That's why he said what he said. He seemed to try to give an apology because he understood it. And yeah, man, it's unfortunate for him, man. He just came back off injury.
Yeah.
And now that elbow, the way it's set out, because once I saw the whole thing.
Yeah, it's hyperextended. Yeah.
And if it doesn't set right again, then he can have a problem lingering. The good thing I can say out of it, it wasn't his throwing arm.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can find, if he comes back and he heals 100%, 95%, he'll still be able to play. But he must learn how to slide.
Mm-hmm.
He must learn how to slide. That's the only way he's going to last, because he doesn't have the physique to withstand. He's not a Josh Allen body.
Mm-hmm.
He's a slim guy. So
we were saying the same thing about RG3, right? I mean, that came out of the fact that
and that's why when his ankle did what it did, it never set back right.
Mm-hmm.
It never got right again. So hopefully, he can recover fully, be back to throwing the ball sometime after Christmas, man, and get stronger and have a better season next year. It'll be not good for him, but I think that sophomore jinx sometime hits other play. He'll be able to sit back, watch the rest of the season, learn how he can get better going into next year, man. So salute to him and his family, man.
Yeah, but still very sad for, again, promising, you got to they got the divisional championship or the AFC NFC championship last year. I think it was like the divisional round against the Eagles.
Yeah,
Yeah, so very sad there. But Shawnee, any more comments on this before I move on?
I forgot what the topic was. I think it goes.
Yeah, so this is the injury.
Yeah. Normally, with younger quarterbacks, some coaches will tend to leave them in the game because they try to. It's a learning, teaching moment, and all that. They try to, just get as much snaps as you can. But with Daniels, and I remember it was brought about him when he was drafted. He's not the biggest quarterback as far as his size. He got height, but it's just his size. And he, like you mentioned, he's already coming off an injury, and you just seeing like, I don't know. It's like he can't. You starting to see the hits really taking a toll on his body. I mean, of course, the way his arm landed, that probably will take out any quarterback. But you just starting to see. So normally I wouldn't trip about a coach leaving their QB, especially a young QB. Usually the older QBs, like, well, sometimes you'll see an older QB, they'll come out the game. Sometimes they'll stay in, but it's usually the QBs decide to do that sometimes. But younger QBs, they usually kind of keep them in the game because they try to get every rep as possible. But with Daniels, man, it's just starting to see like his injuries are starting to. I mean, we just talked about McCarthy earlier in the show. What's up, Coach?
So I have a question. I understand your sentiment, but Daniels is your franchise quarterback. See what I'm saying? So he's proven that he can play at a high level, and he's your franchise quarterback that's coming off an injury, and the loss was sort of already solidified. So do you take that chance with him?
Well, because he, like I mentioned, he's just coming off. You basically just got him back. So at that time, yeah, you could have taken him out. But because I've seen them leave players in there. When I saw him left in the game, I wasn't really like, why is he still in there? I wasn't like that because I've seen that. But in particular with Jaden Daniels, it's because he is coming off a major injury already. And you kind of got him. I don't want to say, like you say, he's a franchise quarterback. You kind of may have to kind of treat him with bubble wrap at times. You want to open it up, but once you see like, okay, you need to be out there no more. You got to wrap him back up. In this case, Seattle's putting it on you. I mean, it happens sometimes in football, and you already know he's coming off a major injury already. Go ahead and wrap him up. If the injury history, even though it's a young NFL career right now, but if that would have happened, if they would have kept him in there, I'm like, okay. And if he would have got hurt, that's just a bad thing. Because like I say, I've seen them do this with QBs. They leave them in the game. But in this particular player, he already coming off a big injury. And once you saw the game just that out of hand, yeah, go ahead and just wrap him up, put a bubble wrap on him, take him out, and just live to fight another day. Now, I haven't heard season-ending injury yet, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, right now, because I don't think they're going to have a chance to make it to the playoffs right now. So I'll just kind of put him on the IR to the end of the season. I don't know if he'll need surgery, but just get him ready for the 2026 season.
Indeed. Moving to the other side, first of all, shout out to Big Ruck 77 in the building. Certainly a diehard Ravens fan. They'll win the North. It'll be interesting. I mean, certainly with a Lamar, Steelers, we got to keep winning. So, certainly they'll be in the hunt. I didn't think even at the time we went down, it would have been over. Now, had they won that game against Cincinnati, that was a bad loss by us, losing that game in Cincinnati to those guys. If we would have got that win, I would feel a lot better about our chances to win it. But now it's going to be competitive the rest of the way. But certainly appreciate you being with us. But let's move to the other aspect of the NFL. Obviously, so the Jets. So they're doing basically a fire sale. They traded Sauce Gardner. And in return, the Jets get Adonai Mitchell and 2 first-round picks. And they also trade Pro Bowler Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. As you guys saw coming into the show, our banner for tonight, Jerry is very positive about this move, and he's basically saying that we are back. I don't know what he's back to, because I don't think you guys are going to necessarily make the playoffs this year. So I don't know what he necessarily means by back, but certainly the Jets are certainly selling out. And also it gives me confidence, because I was asking the question, would Aaron Glenn last more than one season? I think these moves by the Jets are simply to unload. I think that gives me some assurance that I think he will be back certainly for another season, because they have built a war chest of picks. So again, 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, and then going into it, they're going to have 2 first-rounders in 26, 2 second-round picks in 26, and then they got 3 first-round picks in 2027. So they are definitely building certainly for the future. And, so we'll see how it, work fleshed out for them. But I think all these guys, I think Fields is going to be gone next year. I think Jets will be certainly vying with probably New Orleans, I would say, for that number 1 seed and get that number 1 quarterback coming out. Certainly as the college season goes on, I'll certainly be looking at what QB is going to be standing out. But yeah, shout out to my guy Anton. Yes, I mean, it's like, look, it's over, so you might as well again empty the cupboard and just start over. But he's not happy with it. But again, you like I say, you guys are building a war chest, and hopefully in a couple of years, you guys can certainly turn that into something. But just moving on from here, just going to the Cowboys. So again, they get Quinion, and they also get Logan Wilson there. So again, Jerry's very excited. We talked about the defensive woes. Certainly the Cowboys had a bad loss to the Cardinals on Monday Night Football, 27-17. And, so what's the buzz, Shawnee, since you're the Dallas reporter here? What's the news coming out of Dallas? How are fans feeling about these trades? I think that didn't have one more guy they added as well, or what? These are 2 major ones.
I think it was just these two.
These are yeah. So certainly, these are bolstering the defense, and so what's the buzz in Dallas over these acquisitions by Jones and the Cowboys?
Yeah, they definitely more excited about the Quentin Williams acquisition, and then Logan Wilson basically is better than any linebacker we have on the team so far. I heard people, because how bad the Bengals defense was, he's like, why would you get a player from the Bengals defense when he was almost worse than you? I'm like, that's the defense as a whole. I mean, they still have individual players who may do their job, And Logan Wilson, he's a solid linebacker. Like I say, he's better than any linebacker they have right now. So what they're hoping is Logan Wilson. You have Overshown potentially coming back. I want to say probably within the next 2 games, maybe. But he's coming off a major knee injury. I think he like 2 or 3 ligaments or whatnot. Just destroyed his knee, so you can't put all that expectation on him coming back like that. Quentin Williams, I like that trade, even though I saw an ESPN article that actually gave the Cowboys in this trade an F. I'm like, I don't really look at it. Yeah, because they gave the Cowboys an F and the Jets an A+ because of the draft picks they acquired. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm assuming that they'll keep Williams longer than he's not a rental for this season.
Yeah, 28 years old. He's been to the past 3 Pro Bowls. So again, he's in the prime. He's in the prime of his career.
So I'm looking at it,
and durable. He's played every game since 2020. He's played every game.
And I'm looking at like the past several seasons, the Cowboys can't draft the defensive line. They've been terrible at it. They last 2 picks failed miserably. Taco Charleston, of course, he's better known because he was picked right before T.J. Watt. And then you have Mozzie Smith. And Mozzie Smith was traded to the Jets for Williams. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets end up cutting him. So they could not draft that defensive tackle. So to me, I think they ultimately traded Smith, a first round, and a second round pick for Williams. I think Williams, you can't draft a DT. You've been failing at that. So Williams is a proven NFL player. So to me, that cancels it out. Mm-hmm. And if they could keep him past this season, I'm like, okay, because I'm not looking to really impact this year. You know, they still have 3 of the picks. I mean, the 2 that they acquired from they had their 2 picks from
For the Colts, right?
26, 27. Then they
Mm.
picked up 2 more picks in the Micah trade. They just traded 1 of those, so they have 3 of those picks now left. So you still have enough to, and you know, other stuff to address needs in the draft. So you could keep Williams and whatnot for at least 3 seasons on the team. I mean, I think that'll definitely be huge for them in the future roster. So I don't. I mean, we was talking about it earlier. They said they had a 9% chance. I don't, because that defense is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing about it, they was bad with their starters. They still have some injuries in the secondary, so they even worse. That's why they keep getting blown. I think Eberflus has taken a lot because he's a defensive coordinator, but he don't have the players, and those dudes are not really well doing man to man, so he got to keep playing his zone. And if you watch him, you know the zone. The main thing about the zone is handing it off to the teammate when they cross over that into their zone. But the Cowboys, every time they hand it off, the other person, he obviously not aware, he's not paying attention, so the receivers just keep going in behind them and catching them wide open. So it's just a bad defense. I don't really see them, but going on the other side of the trade with the Jets, you know, not only with the Cowboys, but the ones they got with the Colts when they traded Sauce Gardner. I know they stockpiling draft picks, and I really hope that means they'll keep Aaron Glenn, you know, so he can see not only because it's going to be tough for him during these. They taking his talent away, and let him go through this fire, I guess, for the team, and then let him go through it, and on the other side, be patient with him.
Right.
But even with that, to me, the Jets, they don't really. Those draft picks they acquired don't really mean anything to me because that's a terrible run organization. So, I mean, it's not the first time you had draft picks and your team, at least the Cowboys experienced some type of winning in the regular season. The Jets have been a seller in the NFL for, I don't know, over a decade? So, okay, you got the draft picks. You have proven in the past you don't know what to do with them. So, I mean, okay, you got a lot of picks. So what you going to do? You still probably end up being only a 3-win team. So I just don't – they have to show me that they can actually draft and develop their talent before. Cause I don't know if I've seen any organization that has – like they're going to have all these picks, but you might say they're just going to waste them because they are a bad-ran organization.
Yeah. Yeah, Coach, your thoughts on the certainly on the Jets, on their trades, as well as the Dallas's acquisitions, and certainly welcome our guy. Speak just right on cue. He shows up with the Dallas stuff on. So I'm gonna let the coach go, and then I'll bring you in to talk about the new defensive acquisitions for the Cowboys, and who made out better, the Jets or the Cowboys. So I'll start with the coach, and I'll come back to Dante.
What's up, man? What's up, Dante? I think just in this comparison with the two, I think it should be Dallas to me because they have a legitimate team. You know, they are expected to be contenders. With the Jets, what I see from Justin Fields, his delivery of the ball hasn't improved since college. It hasn't. NFL, you have to be able to get that to drop it down over the defender. It's like his balls come in at the defender. It's not going over. So he hasn't been able to transfer that type of pass. He has the legs, he has the arm, but that's why he's not going to do well. With Glenn, he's a defensive-minded coach. So you should be able to take any player that's playing defense and run your scheme and play it at a high level. So I can see them doing that. Quarterback, hey, every time I think about it, look like old Shador Sanders. But the Jets are still going to need a great offensive coordinator. You can call me. I'm available. You need an offensive coordinator and a new quarterback, which they can probably definitely get in the upcoming draft next year. But Justin Fields, I was high on him. I'm high on him. I know his father personally. but he hasn't been able to get that ball in the air and drop it on the dime. A lot of his passes are coming low, deflected, intercepted, or just
like he's throwing like a baseball. He's throwing straight.
Yeah, he's not.
It's almost
like
a baseball delivery.
A lot of them are not even in play, though. You know, a receiver can't even make a play on a lot of them. So if you can't make that adjustment and read, plus he can't read defenses for some reason, then you don't last. He's on his last contract, but salute to him, and he got paid. So,
gotcha. Dante, your thoughts on again the Jets fire sale, Dallas's acquisitions and whatnot, and as again the banner of the show says, Jerry says that the Cowboys are back. So again he's the ultimate salesman there. So what are your what's your take on the acquisitions?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing tonight, man?
Doing well, sounding good.
Yeah, I was listening to see y'all coming in while I was working. I was like, man, it's light anyway. I'm gonna cut out a little early because I definitely wanted to catch this topic. I would say that you can say both teams, it worked out for them. The biggest problem with the Jets, and that's why I'm glad they got that win. I'm glad that Coach Glenn is like it's a rebuild. You guys brought him a quarterback. It's not working. It was one of those I like you but I don't love you deals, which means they can get out of it. I think it's some guaranteed money next year. He's probably going to come into camp and quote unquote compete for the job. Or to be honest, they might even say, hey, we're going to fix some things and give him the job if they don't like any of the quarterbacks in his draft. But I'll say it could work for both teams because they've got, I'll say probably them working out better because you got 2 first-round picks for Sauce, who outside of the one All-Pro year, I keep getting the image of George Pickens just scooching by him and him grabbing him and couldn't just stop him. And this is like now you're going to be like in a better defensive situation, more pressure, hopefully in ball games. So, with a better team. So hopefully that kind of picks him up because the stench of the Jets just stays on him. Like Aaron Rodgers did not look close to this good. Now I know he was coming back from an injury and he's an all-time great, but it's just like getting out of that organization is toxic, is bad, and they're going to have to tear it down to the studs. So kudos to them for getting the picks. What I'll say about on the Dallas end of it, that's why I got the word hopium, because Jerry's selling that hopium. And I didn't want him to overdo it with the trade. And I know, and Shani, I heard what you said, ESPN gave him an F. And I'm thinking of it like when I was like, you have to let the deals play out. When I heard it, I was like, okay, it's one of those Packers first. But then when they said it, and it was like, oh, it's a second, I said, oh, that's a win. Because if you know the Dallas Cowboy history, and I meant to send you that clip that's been going around. I want to say the first person I saw show it was the content creator named Foots the King. He's big in the Cowboys space, and what he said was, look at these picks. Most of these guys are not with the team. Mozzie was a part of the trade, which was an addition by subtraction. The second round pick is Luke Schoonmaker. You took him over good other much better players. It was an old prospect and injured. Like you've been the great drafting Cowboys are not doing the great drafting. And so when you do that, you have to either spend money in free agency or make aggressive moves with the picks that you have. I still feel like you have 2 first-round picks in this draft. You can get more capital. But most importantly, you have a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber player. And at a position that I can't tell you the last defensive tackle the Cowboys drafted that was genuinely good. I would say Osa was solid. He got more than solid money. You gave him the money, and he's been terrible. So it's just like you can't even really count that one as a hit. It's been a long time. I want to say we were going back to an impactful Leroy Glover, and that's going back to the early 2000s, and a period that I don't like to think about too much because it was rough. But it's like I commend Jerry for making an aggressive move. It seemed like he wasn't just blowing smoke up the Cowboys fans' ass, but going on with hopium and thinking, I don't know if this is 2018 when you got Amari and it was like the defense was good and the offense needed to be fixed. It needed to be fixed on multiple levels. You picked up a linebacker, and that's going to help. And I know, Shani, I heard you talking about Overshawn. I would say the Logan Wilson trade is a plus just because now he kept saying, oh, man, reinforcements are coming. The old Jerry in previous years would have been like, reinforcements are coming. Make some stupid pick like a trade for Jonathan Mingo or Trey Lance to be like, I got that for you. Yeah, we're going to make a push. It's like, no, you're not. And then it's like, we got Overshawn back. Well, you don't got a Pro Bowl linebacker coming back. You got a guy with Pro Bowl potential that's coming off another serious knee injury. So you need to bring him back. Yeah, he's coming back at a good pace because he's young and athletic, but let's slow the pace. But anything to get Kenneth Murray off the field, anything to get Mozzie Smith off the field and off the team, and then hopefully you get people wanted to get rid of Trayvon Diggs, put him out there when he gets his mind right. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, if you guys haven't heard, yeah, I do believe that there was a concussion, but they put him on IR because he needed to get right with the knee as well and get his mental right. So hopefully he comes back. He's playing for a new deal because the Cowboys are going to release him go at the end of the year, and you have a better defense. But this move really is about 26 because the better of the draft picks between ours and the Packers, that's what goes over to the Jets. So they have all the incentive in the world to spend money in free agency, extend Quentin Williams if need be, bring back George Pickens if need be. And, if you want to look at the salaries of what you would pay Micah, if you want to combine it and bring it back to that trade, what you pay for Micah versus what you're paying for Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark, and then you get to a point of saying, okay, we see the vision, but I'll bang on the table forever. Do the trade in April and make it happen. I know that the Jets said no, make them say yes in April.
Mm.
And then you make the moves for Micah simultaneously. And then you get a lot of credit and you get to do like you want to, strut like a peacock and get what you really want, which is the attention and credit.
Mm.
And even though you're not doing the work.
Two quick questions for you before we move off the NFL. One, you were talking about just Dallas's problems in drafting defensive, certainly defensive end. Would you argue that Taco Charlton might have been the worst pick in
the worst
the last 20 years?
That's the worst pick. That is tough. That's probably the worst pick. That might be the worst pick in my lifetime. I'm 38. That's the worst pick I've seen since I've covered and followed the team enough to know the draft picks and the players. That's probably the worst pick I've seen because right after him is a guy that's gonna be in Canton, and a guy that lasted he might have lasted 2 or 3 years after he left Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't even know if he's in the league.
No, he's 2022 was his last season. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Mozzie Smith was bad as well. Mozzie Smith, he made absolute zero impact on the team. But the thing that Dante just brought up, the Taco Charlton will always be remembered as the pick right before T.J. Watt. So not only was he completely ineffective on the Cowboys. I mean, you can't even remember this dude even making a play when he was on the team. Production-wise, Taco and Mozzie basically in the same exact boat. But with
Mozzie has the same amount of defensive holding penalties as he has sacks too. It's insane, like the level of swing and misses they made, or we're going to draft this position at this pick. Like some of the things that they did draft it was just terrible. And it's like, and I'll say the biggest thing is too many cooks in the kitchen. A lot of the reason why the defense looks like it is, okay, this is a Zimmer guy. This is a Quinn guy. And Quinn stayed for a few years, so it was molded in his likeness in the defense. And then when he left, you switch. So you get 3 different defensive coordinators. You got a guy running an outdated scheme that didn't have a personnel with it with Eberflus. And now it sounded like Jerry wants to hold on to him for sake of continuity. And it's just like, I don't know if that's the best call. I think he would be coaching for his job. You have an interior player that can make it work, and that should make life easier for the linebackers. You got to get the safeties in the corners to get in sync somehow. Because if you're going to make it competitive, because I don't want to watch 8 more games of just piss poor football on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that at minimum, that's what this trade will bring.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Rug. Talk about Trayvon Diggs. Made some terrible life decisions like his brother. He's a liability. I know he was a 2nd-round pick with the Cowboys, but I certainly want to call him the West. I'd say Taco Charlton, I hate to use the word bust, but I think it aptly applies.
They both
certainly in his situation. But the last question I want to ask before we get off the NFL, because I know we spent over an hour on it. Pickett's. So obviously he got the flag at the in the game, putting the ball in the defensive back's face. What is he? We see the talent and we see the potential there. Is he starting to wear on the team or Cowboys fans from what you're seeing? Is a lot, because again, we saw a lot of that in Pittsburgh. I mean, now everyone say no, we should have kept him, but again, his lack of play, he could be slack on plays and whatnot. Is that starting to rear its ugly head in Dallas, especially now that they're on this losing slide?
Nah, I haven't heard anything about Pickens. The only thing about that penalty that he got in the game, because the NFL just this past offseason is making a point to crack down on that, because all he did was hold the ball. I think last season, I don't even know that had been a flag. The ref was just like, "Hey, break that up." But they actually
And it wasn't like he didn't put it in his face mask or anything.
But they actually targeted that right now. That taunting and stuff. Yeah, so that's why he got the flag there, because it's being viewed like it's a small line that they use for the crossover. But as far as the noise or the fan base down here getting taught Pickens, no. He hasn't really been doing anything. The only thing Pickens has shown is that, remember, Pickens was his most effective when Lamb was out. And that's when Dak was really doing all the damage, and people were like, damn, Dak is kicking, because Pickens was holding down the fort. So that right there has given him, like, people like, man, they still saying Jerry signed him. That's the talk up there with Pickens. They're not worried about what happened last game, because Pickens haven't really been. Him and Lamb have been getting along great, right, so far. So yeah, people up here saying sign him. They not. There's no negative I've ever heard of Pickens here.
All right,
that's what it is. The only thing I'll say to that is this: there was a little bit of scuttle, but people were really down on the team after the Denver loss, and I could immediately understand why. And it was kind of like, hey, if you lose to Arizona, if you're not going to re-sign him, should you flip Pickens and trade him and try to get in? Because I was like, as good as he's played, you might be able to push for a 1. And there was some talk of that, but that's just because the fan base, we are tortured to turn into mini GMs and turn into, well, we don't have enough money and doing all that, instead of saying, hey, man, look at Detroit. You said you couldn't pay a running back or pay this player, you can do it. But the Cowboys fan base he's manipulated the minds of a lot of fans to always look like that. So
Gotcha.
That's the only negative.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna move off here. Let's go to the college game. So again, we talked about this certainly in the chat. Prime in his 3rd year with Colorado, and it's just not looking good right now. Again, is the hype over? I certainly I feel from him, especially I pray for his health. A lot of things that he's dealing with, but this is getting bad. I mean, his first season was start out with a splash. Even the first season, start out with a splash with the big win. I think it was over TCU, but again, I think they had a losing season. Then he had a modicum of success last year. Then he got to 7 wins or 8 wins last year, and now he's out without Shador or whatever, and is down again. So again, I don't know if the portal. How many times can a portal save him? But again, he is a bit of a hype man. And again, do you if I got a 4 or 5 star type of player, do I want him going to Colorado playing for Prime, where he's losing teams like Arizona? I mean, Utah, going in, there's a better team. Arizona, are they that much better of a team right now? So again, does he even last the rest of this season before he either gets a buyout or something like that? And I don't even know of his prospects to be picked up, because I know Florida State, they're looking to probably get rid of their coach. So again, would Florida State come calling for Prime, or is it, like I said, is the hype over for Prime? So we'll start with Coach and get Shawnee and Dante's.
I think it's more of a health issue with him right now. I think, although, he could be a good coach, but I think it's more so of what's going on with him. And I think it'll probably be a good time after this year, regardless, just for health reasons, for him to just step back, what I'm saying, and focus on his health and his life, because he's getting things taken out. He's getting things removed from his body. And football is demanding, and being able to be there and motivate and, get players in a mindset to play is hard, with the assistant coaches to do it on a regular basis. He's wearing a depend now. So I think, buyout, I can see, out of good faith, them giving what he had a 5-year, $5 million a year contract. So I can see that little buyout. It won't cost him that much. But, to me, I think he should just sit back and just enjoy his life right now. Deion Sanders has nothing else to prove to anybody in the sports world at all. Nothing. He'll go down as one of the greatest two-way athletes of all times. Probably the greatest. But, take it easy, bro.
Gotcha. Shawnee, your thoughts?
Like Big Ruck saying, Colorado was successful when they recruited Texas to California and stopped chasing mercenaries in the SEC country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think, if anything, it kind of show you just how good his son was when he was the quarterback for that team. Because, I mean, them games, well, I think they beat Arizona. It was a close game, but it was complete. Some games they still got blown out in, but their offense was definitely looking better.
Well, and also the guy, the two-way player, the wide receiver / corner. He he was top sauce. He doesn't have anybody near that talent level on the team. Also,
yeah,
so they take a step.
But especially that Utah game, man. And by halftime, it was 43-0. I was like, come on, man. And yeah, I don't know. People would joke around because you remember his first season, all these celebrities was all on the sidelines.
Yep.
All on the sideline.
I said he makes it again. He's a showman. Now again, I don't mean to begrudge him as a coach because I know Mike Tomlin kind of gets that sometimes. He's not really a good X's and O's coach. He's a motivator, and he can certainly bring a lot of buzz to the building. And they was talking about the attendance in Colorado. All those things are there. But if they're basically going to be going back down to like a 1 or 2 win team like they were before, I mean, it's at some point you gotta you gotta part ways
all that, because when he had the wins and how he revitalized that team the first 2 seasons, that's when the whole Florida State noise started. You hearing people because it's an alma mater, and Mike Nolan over there, he was already kind of in on the hot seat. So they was already trying to put Prime over there, going over there. Prime like, nah, I'm good in Colorado, and it's complete 180. I know Coach brought up his health, but Prime he won't use that as an excuse. I mean, he thinks he's still capable of doing the job. So he says he's out there. You're just going to judge him accordingly based on a head coach leading his team out to the football field. And it just looks like they just out of the league now, man. It's like teams just showing no mercy on them. They're destroying them. And all that revitalizing they did the first 2 seasons when he had his son on the squad, because he completely Colorado. I mean, that's why they still getting all these national televised games from that. And pretty soon ESPN is like, man, we're not putting y'all on this TV no more. Because right now you putting them on these, even though some they are basically almost a West Coast team. They got that late game time slot.
Yeah.
So they playing like 9 o'clock here locally, but ESPN like, man, we got to go ahead and take y'all off because it's just a complete night and day. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how it is because Boulder was up. Boulder was hot the first 2 years. I don't know how, because I think they was getting sellouts and all that. But I don't know how it's kind of tailed off since then. Because right now they are not the same team. It's not the same excitement. Those celebrities they done moved on and went somewhere else. It's just the players in the locker room now. Ain't no more Rock coming in there. Any other random celebrity coming in there. So I don't know, man.
And let's face it. I mean, black coaches get the leash. I mean, James Franklin was in the national championship playoff last year, and he's gone after having a down year. So again, how patient could they be? But Dante, go ahead. That just came to my mind. I just threw that in there. But go ahead.
To be honest, that's one thing that I did worry about Coach Prime with was the fact of I wasn't sure about the X's and O's because we're going to talk about being critiquing. I think there were some times where he's been upset early in his career, like the 2 times that he won the SWAC. He did not win the Black National Championship because he didn't beat the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. The 2 times he played was upstage, and it was all hyped up. The other team, they won, and it was kind of like, yeah, he won the conference, and we know you had the superior talent. You were getting transfers like James Houston, who's now with the Cowboys. Obviously, Travis Hunter, winning a Heisman, and Shador, who was a draft pick. And it just, part of me just thinks back how it is. And I know they got the 5-star quarterback. I always wonder, would it have been better for way it played out if Travis leaves and maybe Shador says, I'm gonna stick another year. If he does, because I'm pretty sure he heard his draft was probably one of those. They either tell you a first round pick or they tell you go back. He probably just entered his name and probably didn't even think of that point. And that makes me think about that. You get another year of a good quarterback because the Big 12 is getting stronger and stronger. You got Texas Tech, the behemoth over there. Utah was a good team, but there's not a team that beats you 52 like that and drop that type of points. They're more of a physical football team that's gonna. Like you saw the games where they physically pounded them, but they had a better quarterback, a better skill player, so they were able to hang around those games. One thing I do want to know is this: does he not have the ability to go get the right type of coaches? Because my thing is, I'm weary of
all these guys from the NFL, right?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
weary of guys like Warren Sapp because that three technique is never going to be able to play like you, Warren. And I always wonder, guys like that, do they have that problem doing that? I always think about it, Magic Johnson. With guys like that, you come and do it, and it's like they can't do what you do. There's guys like that can't, and then there's the Jason Kidds that can. But normally, the better coaches are the everyman guys that understand that I barely made the roster. I was on there. I was a special teamer. I was a safety. Like you get some guys. What's the name? He was an all SEC player, Kirby Smart. Mm-hmm. But you don't think about him being an all SEC safety. Racial bias. But yeah, and so you get guys like that. But if you're not going to be that, one of my favorite all-time coaches, Mac Brown, he wasn't an excellent guy though either. But guess what? When you line up your 22 and you line up his 22, he's going to have more talent than you. And he was going to beat the teams that he was supposed to beat. Coach Prime, I really think it would have been really great for him if they could have made that Big 12 title game last year to give him more grace. But the way this is losing over 100 points in 2 games and scoring only 24, I honestly predict he's going to step down for health reasons, or it's going to be like he's going to get let go. Because, at this point, he's not marketable to go to another team. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to get the right kind of staff. He's going to have to make some changes. If he does come back, he's going to have to hit the portal because now it's proven that you got to go to the portal and get guys. But you can't just every year shuffle in and out. Well, you can shuffle in and out the portal, guys. But how many people are going to want to come to you? How many people are going to come to you after this type of season? And you're going to have to get the young talent. Like the 5-star quarterback, you're going to have to keep him there and develop him. Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
What's his smoke, please? What's his smoke?
I think all his players are not going to be as dedicated as.
That's right. Yeah, it's like you have a window to win or to recruit or whatnot, and build a reputation that guys want to come to you or whatnot. That takes a long time to do. So, but let's move to the next block here. We got another 25 minutes in the show. Again, we had a very exciting. Again, this is probably one of the most entertaining World Series in a long time. Feel for Toronto. You're up 3-2, going home. You lost 2 games. At home. Yamamoto. I mean, brilliant. Certainly in the games, but I mean, so close to that. So I really felt for Toronto and losing that game. And it's only the 3rd game in World Series history that ended on a double play. You got to go back almost 100 years before you saw. I think one was in 1924, and I think another one was like maybe 3 or 4 years later. The last time a World Series ended on a double play. Toronto, I think they had a ton of times to score. Sometimes they would be over-aggressive on the base pads and whatnot. And in a lot of respects, they were like the better team. But you got to give some love to Dave Roberts, who right now I think he's certainly punched his Hall of Fame ticket. 3 world championships, Cito Gaston. I think he might have been the only other black manager who had 2, the back-to-back with the Blue Jays and whatnot. But right now, we got to ask the question. This is their 3rd title in the 2020s. Is this a dynasty? Because I don't see anybody really beating this team next year. or at least, I mean, he said Toronto. I mean, you might have a rematch with Toronto next year, but I mean, the Dodgers with this guy, cool as ice, under pressure, the right moves at the right time, and just he got all the breaks, certainly in the game. And in fact, there's one thing I want to talk about as well on the next slide. But just your initial impressions on this World Series and your thoughts on the Dodgers and their prospects. Can we associate the D word with this Dodgers team, especially under this manager who's been at the helm?
I mean, even with the Dodgers, they were predicted to be there before the start of the season. I even picked Toronto in 6. I think me and Shani had Toronto winning it, right? Mm-hmm. But the way they never got rattled throughout the whole, World Series, every time they were down. I'll just say this real quick in reference to how the game ended. Mookie Betts had just received, I think, the Golden Glove award like the day before. And he would be the one that's ironically gets a double play the way he did, So, yeah, salute to them, man. They had a well-balanced team. I think Toronto fought hard. It just wasn't their time, man. The Dodgers showed that they have the best team in baseball, again, for the second year in a row. So,
yeah, gotcha. And then again, Cito Gaston again, the last one. He might be the only one. I'm trying to think who else. It was only Cito Gaston. Oh, Dusty Baker won.
Dusty Baker won.
Yeah, respect to Dusty Baker, because I know he had all those. He had all those close ones, and I think he finally got over the hump with the one. But certainly, like I said, Roberts, he's got 3 now. And again, I'm not going to get any controversy in that. Well, he's half Asian, all that. I'm picking him, but in any event, Dante, your thoughts on this? Again, I was very entertained by that, and it was just like it was gutsy, but it's like Toronto just couldn't get the breaks.
I'll say this for all, I know we say this a lot, for all my young brothers out there. Man, this series showed you how exciting and how great baseball at its greats could be. That game 6 where he caught it, and I was like, did he double him up? And I was like, oh, he made the mistake. He thought that was gonna go. He went too far, and he got doubled up. And I'm like, the instant it could end like that game 7 where you got the unheralded, was it Rojas that gets the home run? I'm like, man, we're waiting to get up. Otani's gonna get it. Yes, we're gonna see if Otani's gonna get it at bat. We're talking about Otani, and I heard what Monty Jones said. He said, we're worried about Otani. Is he gonna get a chance? And then bam, homer. And I'm like, my mouth dropped, and I was like explaining to my wife, because I was like, you realize that's the worst hitter on the team. He's hitting the 9 hole. And I was just like, for him to do that, that's improbable. Like, that's history. Like, the way it just hits you so fast, you can see the crowd just sink. That wasn't I didn't want to go too high and say that's one like the best game 7s I ever seen in any sport. I got to hold away, but as of right now, that was great. I would say they definitely a dynasty with 3 and 6, and more importantly, the back-to-back helped the dynasty claim. So even if you have an off year and you come back, that's the one thing I didn't like about the Spurs, but you respect it because they were always there. Mm-hmm. But just there having one of my thing is, I don't hate the Dodgers outside of any Ranger. Mookie is my favorite baseball player, because for him to do what he did in Boston and then be an MVP and then come to the Dodgers and then be great on a big stage as well. It's just like you're going to be known as a guy that you got it done on the big stage. Glad he had the good game earlier in the series when he was in a slump. But it was fantastic baseball that I think they might win it again next year. And the thing is, the reason why I picked them in 5 because I thought the talent was too big. I was wrong on that. I didn't give enough credit to the Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this: they spent the money in the right places. A lot of people are saying they're ruining the sport, but look at how much other teams have spent, and they just spent it. And they found a trick with the extension of Otani's contract of deferring the money. They found a nice loophole there, and like what Snell and Glass now said, if you can't beat them, join them. They said, we tried this in 2020 and they lost, and I was just like, hey, fair point, but great for the game of baseball. Great ratings. Really loved it as a fan of the game.
Yeah. And like I said, I really felt for the Blue Jays because, again, when we talk about, they say football is a game of inches. and this game was like a game of inches. I mean, the slide to get the to tie the game. I mean, it's like right there, and because the catcher's foot came up, but he had to like get it
Yeah,
back
if he would have
down. You
slid
talk
with his
about a
hand, he
fraction
probably
of a
would have kept it
second.
on there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this play on the left. Now, look, I'm saying you need to change this rule. I mean, I know, shout out to Justin Dean. It was a smart move on his part. He exploited the rule book. I don't like this at all. I mean, he could clearly get that ball, but again, they called it. They called it with that rule. I mean, that's just.
Well,
That's a tough break.
I mean, it's a freak thing because again, when is a ball even going to be in that situation? That's such a freakish the chance of that happening. But I don't like it.
It happened in another game, but the ump came and moved the ball like you can still get it. He didn't grant them that timeout, but
yeah,
it's. I'll say my thoughts about the series before I talk about the dynasty and whatnot. I thought Toronto was the better baseball team, but yeah, the Dodgers got the breaks. One break in Game 6. I mentioned it last week. That's when, Springer, he got injured, so he was taken out late in the game. Then because the Blue Jays was trying to win the game via pinch runners, Bo Bichette was taken out for a pinch runner, and obviously when the game went 18 innings, those almost played almost a whole second game after the original 9 innings.
That's right.
It did. They didn't have Bichette. Well, I think Bichette was pinch run in the 12th inning. But majority of those late inning games, they really didn't have their best hitters.
No.
So they were just sitting there playing with their bench hitters. And then we go on to Game 7, and Dante brought up Rojas, which was actually a good pitch. It was a good pitch, but he was looking for that slider outside, and you could tell the way he reached. That was just a good hit by him. But they was 1 out away from winning that title, but he made a clutch home run.
Yeah.
Now to go to the dynasty stuff, I see what you're saying about the 3 titles because they got that title in 2020. Remember that was a 60-game season because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So a whole lot of 100 games was left off, but hey, they won a title. And then yes, I think they more of a dynasty. I don't want to say dynasty yet, but because people, I think it's just been entertained because they got these back-to-back titles. Remember, in between that 2020 title and now, Dodgers had some embarrassing postseason losses. Losing against TN. I think one of them they lost in the first round. I was still so they made it to the World Series, and then obviously they won these last 2. I'll still say my Astros from 2017 to 2022, they was kind of looked at as a dynasty because they was literally the gatekeeper of the AL. Like you knew you were going to have to see the Astros if you want to make it to the World Series. And generally the team that beat them in the ALCS went on and win the World Series. I saw Big Ruck mention that's probably one of the biggest upsets, I think, in MLB history when the Nationals beat the Astros in 2019. If you look at that Astros roster, it was stacked. I mean, I think they was producing more than these Dodgers right now. They had a bigger payroll than the Dodgers, but they were stacked. And somehow the Nationals end up winning in 7. But with the Astros, they went to 8 straight ALCSs, 4 World Series in those. They went to back-to-back World Series, but they lost one in 21 versus the Braves, and then came back. And basically, I put it like this. The Astros could have had 5 straight World Series games. They lost in 2020 in Game 7 to the Rays, and that shortened season. They made the World Series in 21, lost against the Braves, won the World Series in 22. I forgot they went to the World Series in 19, won the World Series in 22, lost in 23 to the Rangers in a Game 7. They was 1 win away from there. So that was potentially 5 straight World Series appearances the Astros could have had. I know Everybody got their opinions on 2017 because of the scandal, but that's 2017. That don't have nothing to do with the other seasons I just mentioned. So that's why I was like, okay, the Dodgers are potentially a dynasty only because they back-to-back champions. The Astros went to back-to-back World Series, but they lost the first one. Like I mentioned, they came one game away from literally went to 5 straight World Series appearances. So that I would say was a dynasty, but I guess you're just looking at it for as a dynasty over a team, because even that same span of time for the Dodgers, they had some embarrassing postseason exits. So I was like, and the Astros, like I mentioned, they at least, if you're gonna beat them, you have to beat them in Game 7 of the ALCS. They went that far. So you looking at one dynasty, potential dynasty, because they back-to-back titles, and then I'm throwing out another example because the tenure of how they went, literally coming 3 times from making it 5 straight World Series appearances. So that's what I'm saying. But the Dodgers been dynasty. If they win one more, obviously. But watching my Astros, I'm like, that was to me more of a dynasty because it was longer. And even when you look at the same time span on a higher payroll with the Dodgers, they had some embarrassing postseason exits in that same time span. So I guess it depends on which way you shine the light on it. Maybe if you just look at the titles, Dodgers a dynasty. I'm looking at the tenure. I'll say the Astros were a dynasty. Obviously, that window right now, the Astros is closed. But during that stretch, they was literally the gatekeeper in the AL.
Gotcha. Moving on to the next point here. Again, great World Series, and we'll see if the Dodgers can do it again. Certainly in the world of baseball. So here's a guy running an article. So there's a special ballot. Both Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, they can possibly be added to the Hall of Fame ballot. There's a special contemporary. It's called a contemporary ballot. You need 12 of 16 voters in order to get on it. But you are starting to have, certain writers, certain people basically saying that it's time to, these guys should be in the Hall of Fame. And I know you got a lot of old school writers and whatnot who will never vote for these guys to be in the Hall of Fame. But if they get on this ballot, again, 12, 16 have to approve it. Do you think that the winds of change are coming where they will finally get acceptance into the Hall of Fame class of 2026? What do you think the odds of that happening with these guys trying potentially getting on the Hall of Fame ballot this time? Coach?
I think it's just probably be old legacy.
So they got to wait another 80 years before they get
maybe I know at least 10. I know at least 10, with the, I guess, some of the players and managers and ownership, they're still alive, so they'll never forget this moment. And the fact that both denied the use of it, and so yeah, I think they'll get a legacy, acceptance at some point. Maybe when Shawnee and Dante get in their 60s or so, they might see Bonds get in or something.
So we may not make it.
Yeah, we might not make it.
We may not be here by the time they get in.
They might be able to still go to a game or something.
I don't know. I'm hoping modern medical technology can keep me alive another 50 years by then. So hopefully that'll be the thing. But
I mentioned this: the baseball purists, the old school dudes, they probably can't stand that dude. But think about it though. Remember, during that whole steroid era, whatnot. I mean, I know we was talking about this Game 7, excuse me, and you know how exciting that was. It was not even Game 7, just this World Series as a whole. But remember during that time, during that 90s stretch, this baseball at that time was about as big as football.
Yeah.
So it was
certainly the 98 season with the McGuire chase. That was like,
I know everybody have them purists have their thing about the the steroids and whatnot and what that did to the records. And of course, we're not advocating players should be doing anything, taking any PEDs or whatnot. But that honestly probably was the thing that that era potentially saved, I want to say saved baseball, but it's almost. Like, you remember they had that strike, but then all of a sudden it just got super exciting because of these home run races and the McGuire and Sosa and all this and Barry coming doing his thing. It produced it put eyes on the sport. Now you can say about the steroid, but it definitely put the eyes on the sport. And the thing about it, MLB capitalized on it.
Mm-hmm.
They capitalized on it. And now MLB and those old school purists, they got this holier than thou, stance with it. So now a lot of the players who have legit Hall of Fame talent, but if they played during that era, a lot of them are on the outside looking in. And only one, he was just a home run hitter, but he recently got in, and he was from that same era. I forgot his name.
Oh, Tomei or?
Well, no, it wasn't Tomei.
What's the name was tied to it. He got in, but I think he got in off the personality.
Ortiz, yes.
Ortiz got in, and he was heavily tied to it. I want to say the Big Hurt always Frank Thomas. He always denied it, and he even spoke out against it. I know it's me being the DFW, it's kind of a bad thing to bring this up, but what Pudge was tied to it. He was linked, but it was nothing that could really stick. So there were guys that were in there that I wouldn't surprise me one day if an expose comes out and it puts it out there and it puts egg on their face. But I mean, I'm with you, Shotty. I want to say the strike was 94, right?
Yeah.
The strike's 94. So me as a kid, strike is 94. Cowboys were rolling in that at the time, and that was the thing. Obviously, DFW Cowboys won in 95. I picked back up. The Rangers had never. I didn't even realize it when I was younger. They had never made the playoffs until that late '90s stretch when they made it. So I saw some of the best baseball in their history coincided with the home run chase, where ESPN it was 24/7, but you didn't always have the access. So it was like, oh, ESPN, who had a home run today? WGN had the Cubs games. So the homework chase and the juicing brought me into the space, and I love the home run ball. I love the power hitter. So that brought me in. So it always will make me say they should put them in. I'm kind of like the guys like the Darren Woodses of the world. They probably won't, but whenever they do, just wake me up because it's not right. We understand it. You could have a wing, or you could talk about the guys in the allegation. It's a part of the history of the game. You didn't turn down the money. You didn't turn down the eyeballs. I remember the commercials, but not per se commercials, but everything was about the long ball. I think it was the Maddox, the Braves pitchers had a commercial for it. And chicks dig the long ball, like all this stuff, and you're not going to put these guys in. And, you know how great Barry was before he, alleged that he took it. Then the fact is you had it, you had the Mitchell report. Once you had all those things, it was time to get the curmudgeons out of there and, be like, hey, these guys do need to be in. They do need to be deserved and honored. It's just that so much came out. I think they're going to make them wait until their later years or they pass away, which is really unfortunate.
I think it'll be the latter.
Right. Last block of the night, speaking just kind of to dovetail this a little bit. So I know we had this week, we had the passing of Victor Conti, who with his Balco company was very much a part of that era in time. You see the athletes that he represented. So Barry Bonds, he's the one who they developed that clear substance. Jason Giambi, Gary Sheffield, in track and field, we all know about Marion Jones. Again, I think she was a two-time gold medalist at I think it was the 2000 or 2004 Olympic Games, and she was sort of disgraced from it. Tim Montgomery, Dwayne Chambers, Kelly White, and then in the NFL, Bill Romanowski, Dana Stubblefield, several guys that even in boxing, I Ward, Devin Haney, Anito Donaire, Terrence Crawford, even in Clarissa Shields. So again, this guy's certainly been on the scene for a while, and I just kind of wanted to, certainly in this kind of closing of the show, your thoughts on his quote-unquote legacy. What do you think he's done to the sports scene again. And I'm not trying to isolate him as the only guy. He might have been a bit more brazen with his, or more, because his thing is basically saying, look, everybody's doing this thing. I'm just trying to, sort of legitimize it a little bit more. But he was certainly the poster child when all that was going on, when they had those congressional hearings going on, and all those baseball players going before Congress. His name was circulated as basically public enemy number one when it came to doping and that whole fight. So, some people may look at him as sort of like a renegade type of person who basically, gave basically exposed what's really going on in the world of sports. But some people think the guy's a pariah. So your thoughts on Victor Conti, who died, I think, on the just earlier this week, and at age 75. Your thoughts on his impact? I'm going to say legacy, but his impact on the sports world as we know it today. And I know that's a probably loaded question, but Coach, if you want to take that on, or you want me to start with, let's come back to you. But your thoughts on Conti?
I mean, not too much, man. Listen, man, this is what happens, man. They get in these positions, man, and sometimes they get away from the ethics of what they're doing, man. It's just unfortunate but they know what's happening until it affects them, So I really nothing to say, man. I never, first time I ever seen a face, but they know what they're doing, man. With this, I don't know, man. I just don't get into that type of sportsmanship. I rather,
Right.
I like to see.
I'm saying, but we felt its impact though. So, what your thoughts on? I'm not, what do you think his? You want to call it a stain on sports? I mean, so I'm just saying, like, what is his good or bad?
It's like the steroids, right? It's like that. The same thing to me, He's put a stain on the accomplishments of, what happened. And it's just unfortunate, man. So, I don't really have too much to say, that when people do that, man, it's just unfortunate that you got people that work hard and try to do it the right way, and there's people that cheat. I don't like the cheating part of it, so.
Yeah, I want to highlight this point from Anton. One thing everyone forgets about the 1998 season, they didn't have drug testing policy until 2003. So even for those guys who are part of that era, can you, the ethics of keeping them out when you say they didn't violate a policy? Mark McGuire, they found that androstenedione stuff, but I don't know if it was illegal at the time. And a lot of those guys got caught later. Seemed like some of that punishment was kind of retroactive to an extent. So that being said, again, how would you, and again, I'm asking kind of a difficult question, but again, his impact on baseball, all the sports for the most part, but certainly in the baseball at that point that Antoine just raised, you didn't have a policy back then. So, did these guys cheat per se? Or was Conti just like that baseball rule where the ball got stuck in the corner, he put his hands up, he just said, look, y'all ain't testing, y'all ain't doing so. He just did his thing.
Basically, it's basically my previous comments basically applies to Conti when it comes to the MLB and whatnot, because MLB, they capitalized on it, but it's a stain on the organization. But I mean, like I said, they capitalized on it. It was a black eye, but they paraded it. So now, when it comes to other sports, I believe he's also connected. I just hate that he definitely taken advantage, but you can't really just put the blame strictly on him, because it's the athletes who also agreed to take this stuff, and Some of them just want to succeed at all costs or whatever. And I believe he's also connected to Lance Armstrong, who you already know his whole story. I mean, if y'all haven't seen the 30 for 30, it was hella good, really. On Lance Armstrong, I advise you to watch that one. But just all of that and just Conte's hands in multiple sports and whatnot with this whole doping thing. I mean, it sucks, but he basically just taking advantage of these players, these athletes who really want to succeed, and they all trying to get this. Pretty much all the athletes, many of them trying to get this leg up on a competition. Some of them will train hard and do all the latest, invest a lot of money in training to, believe they'll give them an edge on competition. Well, here he comes introducing the whole doping thing that's basically undetectable at the time. So they say, oh, okay. I mean, normally I might not do this, but if it's going to give me an edge and they don't know, I'm going to go ahead and slide in there and put me on the list. So he basically just took advantage of these athletes who really damn near do anything to win. And then you presented an idea to where they thought they could do something and not get caught. I mean, it definitely. I think I remember when it came out, because when the whole scandal came out, because it's almost like they just, them old cartoons where they have this scroll, they open it up and it just falls on the floor. Mm-hmm. All these. That's kind of what it reminded me of when this happened, when it all came out. The names on this list, it just kept going out. Yeah. Now, everybody involved with his barcode, everybody's name was on it. I'm like, man, what you doing? I didn't know you was involved in this. He had everybody associated with him. So, right. Yeah, when it came out, you talking about it was it soaked in everybody, because so much people he was so connected to various athletes, like you mentioned, MLB, NFL, Olympics. This dude had tentacles everywhere. But yeah, it's definitely. But that Lance Armstrong, I see Anthony talking about the forever retain his legacy. Yeah, that's definitely like a highlighted scandal when it comes to sports, because that whole thing was just shady involving him.
Dante.
Yeah, Pariah is the number one thing I think of. Whenever I saw when I saw his name on ESPN, and it felt like I saw him so many times on either Real Sports or Outside the Lines on ESPN with Bob Davis. I could just see it, and it's just like the details, and it's just like, man, what is that book that was written about Barry? It was The Game of Shadows, and it was just like detailing everything when he started and everything, and the connection and the Valco, and the brown paper bag and everything, and the clear and the cream, and it's like everything about him, and don't know what kind of person he was, because it's just like it seemed like everything that was paid up to a little shady, make the ends to make the means. He could find a way to make it work, but he did, and he found something, and Valco is forever in the history of sports, going to be shrouded with legacy, and his name goes there. I don't know if what he did after that period. I didn't, after that period was over, and basically I started really hearing about him around the Mitchell Report. And once that came out and everything was a part of that and all that came out, and it's kind of like he was just kind of like pushed away or pushed out. He, like you said, it was a thing. And I will say this again, good or bad, the strongest union in sports. MLB made sure to push out for testing as long as they could. And, probably to tell guys to get their stuff in order. Money was getting made, and he's going to be a part of being a pariah, shadiness. And he made a lot of guys and a lot of women a lot of money that they would have made because of their performance on the field. And it's something that I've heard people even say, like a Mark Cuban, one day it could be legal. And you can look at it as like you're asking someone to do X amount to push their bodies to the limits. Why not have them things to have them recover? So.
Yeah, and what's history going to say if they do legalize it at some point? I always said that I wouldn't mind in bringing in, because again, if their primary purpose is to help you recover from injury, that's why steroids were invented in the 30s and the 40s and whatnot, burn victims from the wars and whatnot. That's why I was there. So if you can take something in a controlled environment that would allow players to get on the field faster, as long as it's approved, as long as all the information's out, I didn't mind at the time. But I think certainly even before Balco, now Canseco was talking about this stuff's been in there since the 80s. Like Canseco, he and nobody wanted to listen to him at the time. And yet, but he was a prior, and then Conti, he did his thing, and there's others that are out there that are doing it. So I guess I'm not saying I'm sympathetic to the guy. I mean, I think he's certainly he did a lot of things certainly to exploit a gap certainly within the MLB. I think he exploited a weakness certainly in their drug policy at the time. Now, as far as the Olympics, look, we've seen the last 2 Olympic Games. You got whole countries that have been banned. Russia's been banned from the Olympics, right? Because of their because of the doping stuff. So this isn't, I don't think he's the originator of it. He's just, I think, the most public about it. And I think, and to an extent, he was almost an advocate for it. And like I said, at that time in particular, I remember because of what it did for baseball, as you said earlier, coming out of the 94 strike, ratings were down and whatnot. That race, they were breaking from nationally, like primetime television, to go to Mark McGwire when he was at 59. Anytime he went, he came up to, they was like, whatever show was on, they were going to break and go to that. So again, I think, yeah, so I don't know. To me, this is still very much a gray area for me. No pun on the show that I do on Sunday nights. But it is, to me, I don't think he certainly caused the problem. I think he was certainly just part of it. That goes back probably longer. If you really want to do a deep dive on this, it's gone on probably a lot longer than we got notice of it. And I think in a lot of respects, it may still go on today. So it's just, but he will forever be, again, the poster child for doping. And his name will resonate certainly with my generation. Well, certainly us, we're millennials and Gen Xers here. With us, I don't know if Gen Zers will, look at him with the same flavor. When we hear Victor Conti, it just automatically takes us to 98 or the Olympics or whatever it is. So, hopefully time will, put some things in perspective. And like I said, if they ever legalize it, which I wouldn't mind doing, just control it, open records, open, if you want. Now, I know you got the only thing to avoid that. I know you got HIPAA law, which I know is big, and, sharing protocols and stuff like that, that gets messy. But I really thought that if it was about not that you want to gain 50 pounds or have your head size go from a 6.5 to a 9 to hit a baseball, I mean, as long as you were doing it for recovery, honestly, I had no, as long as it was above board and everybody knew what was going on. So that was my 2 cents on it. But I figured since I was talking about the Barry and the Clemens thing, because in Clemens, he had his own thing. Him and his wife had, I don't think they were using Balco, but they had
said it was a B12 shot, but they said they said.
Yeah, but his wife was taking steroids though. I mean,
yeah, that's what I said. She said she was so she could look good for the swimsuit cover. Yeah, and it was just like that. Ooh, boy, took me back.
So but that whole thing again, all those guys going up to Congress. Rafael Palmeiro, he was up there shaking. Wasn't he a Texas Ranger at one point?
Yeah, it was Texas Ranger.
Yeah. Texas Rangers or whatnot. So he was, and again, and that probably took him out of Hall of Fame because he was
the classic. I'm not here to talk about the past or Mark McGwire. It's
exactly,
like no,
but that's another. Palmeiro, he was in the 500 home run club. He could have possibly been a Hall of Famer had it not been for for that as well. So I think a lot of guys sort of dug a grave for themselves with that, and I think a lot of guys, and again, same thing with the Pete Rose thing. I think a lot of those guys that would have admitted it. That's why I think someone like Andy Pettit, I think he might have been one of the few guys who kind of somewhat admitted, yeah, I did it. But you'll be surprised a lot of times when you just admit wrong or whatever that people could be more forgiving. Pete Rose would have been in the Hall of Fame years ago had he just fessed up and said, yeah, I did it. Take a few years or whatever. And yeah, he would have got in while he was still alive. So yeah, that's definitely he left a legacy again, good or bad or indifferent on the sport. But we're at the end of the show. So again, I don't think we'll go into unless someone has something very specific they want to talk about, final thoughts or whatnot. We can sort of do a wrap certainly at this point.
Well, mine is just about everybody have their opinions on the Cowboys, and in particular their fan base. And my whole thing is, it's I was looking up, and this is one story because Cowboys franchise not the only franchise that has like just super loyal fans, whatnot. Even can be annoying fan bases, but there's some things that Cowboys fans do that just make the rest of us just easy targets. So I'm looking at the stories, and apparently this one dude, because his recently, not too long ago, I guess his cousin passed away. Well, he thought it'd be a good idea to spread his cousin's ashes on the Cowboys field at AT&T Stadium.
Whoa.
So there's a picture of him. He putting the ashes right there in the end zone. I'm like, dude, come on, man. There's a time and place for everything. And why are you going? This is a private property. Why you? I wouldn't be surprised if, man, somebody saw that, man, especially now that this picture came out of you seeing him putting the ashes on the field. He getting emotional. A field dude came out there, man, with the vacuum cleaner and just sucked all that up. I said, I'm sorry, dude, but this don't belong right here. I'm like, man, why are you? They already got pictures. You see Stephen A. Smith always making fun of the Cowboys when they lose in playoffs, and they getting these pictures of these fans, dudes crying and whatnot, dude getting consoled by his woman on the stands and whatnot. Then he got this guy. He called himself want to honor his late cousin, so he wanted to bring his ashes and put it in the end zone at Cowboy Stadium. I don't know why you. This is why they be picking on the Cowboy fan base, because we do stuff like this. They just so it's just so they do too much. If I was a dude working, if I was one of the field hands at Cowboy Stadium, because I know now it's there. I know now because I see it's floating around the internet. So I'm gonna go back and look on the field. Them dudes know the field like the back of their hands. Even if it's turf, they still know. I'm gonna go up there. I'm like, man, here you go right here. It look like ashes right here. I say, hey, I'm sorry for your loss, but your cousin don't belong here. I'm gonna give me a little shark vacuum and go ahead and suck him up. So I'm like, dude, you can't be doing this stuff, man. I'm like, this is why we get picked on already, because we got these fans. They just, I don't know, man. Even the Bills fan base, all they got to do is worry about falling through a table and they, little pregame stuff. And here we go. We got fans putting ashes on the field. I'm like, oh, come on, man.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Shout out to our guy Anton again, talking about the most deranged fans are again Toronto Maple Leafs fans. Wouldn't know about that. But speaking of which, I know again. I'm acknowledging the season. The defending Florida Panthers. They're in last place in the division at 6-1. So maybe a little slow out to start. We'll see. It's a long season, though. We'll see if they can certainly make their way out of it. But Coach, unless you have something, we can certainly do a wrap. You want to have your final words?
No, man. Listen, man. I got my final parent meeting before the season starts tomorrow. Darn out all these little nasty behaviors.
Cuts. Who's getting cut?
Well, we cut. I'm just working with the players on the team now. I just was, narrowing down some players that are no longer on the team. But listen, first game is next Wednesday, so I may or may not be here. We do have a home game. First game starts at 5. Only one of my teams are playing on that day, so we'll see how they work out. But, man, good show, good topics, man. I'm glad we didn't cry about the Cowboys, even though, Cowboys always get some love, man. But, salute to y'all, man. Good show, man.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Make sure you hit the like button, certainly, as you leave the show. And, again, until next week, enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the Thursday night game tomorrow night. And, until we see each other again next week, you guys take care. God bless. And we will see you next time. Good night.